curtindo um podcast, né? Sabe o que você também vai curtir? Saber que o melhor flip de todos os tempos chegou. O novo Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 6, com Flex Cam, que tem zoom automático e faz selfies de 50 megapixels e com bateria estendida para nunca te deixar na mão. Vá a uma loja ou saiba mais em samsung.com.br. Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 6. Galaxy AI chegou.
Quem é Besouro Suco?
Nunca diga esse nome, ouviu?
Besouro Suco.
Eu tô falando muito sério. Se disser o nome dele 3 vezes, coisas ruins vão acontecer.
Tipo o quê?
Besouro Suco.
Besouro Suco!
Besouro Suco!
O suco tá soltinho.
Em 5 de setembro,
Vambora com isso?
a espera
Partiu, novinha.
acabou.
Queremos agradecer a presença de todos nessa ocasião especial. Eu senti bem aqui.
Eca.
Pré-venda dia 23 de agosto. Verifique a classificação indicativa.
Okay, if he jumped, where did he jump from? And she's like, he jumped out of my window. I'm like, okay, but where? Like, show me where he jumped from. She said the second floor. I said, what do you mean the second floor? What do you mean? Like, show me where he jumped from right now. And as I'm saying that, he's literally down about 100 feet, maybe 100 feet. And he's like, babe, he's over here and he's dead.
These are the plaintiffs, Nikita and Vincent Maccheroni. Nikita says they hired the defendant to dog sit for them, and when they went on vacation, the careless woman let their poor dog jump out the window to his death. When they arrived at the defendant's apartment, their dog was still on the street dead. They called the cops in hysterics, and this woman has to pay for her outrageous behavior. They're suing for $8,000, the amount they're owed. This is the defendant, Kat. She says she left the dog in her apartment for 20 minutes, and when she came back, she noticed her screen was broken. When she looked outside, she was horrified to see the plaintiff's dog on the street dead. The poor thing broke out and jumped. The plaintiffs left him on the street for 3 days before she finally hired someone to take him away, and she's been traumatized. She is accused of negligence. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $8,000 for defamation of character and emotional distress.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Milian in our forum, the People's Court.
People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Maccheroni, you are suing Ms. Kat for $8,000 because according to you, she is responsible for the death of your pet. She's counterclaiming against you the same amount, which is the statutory maximum in Miami, because according to her, you have defamed her all over the internet. Talk to me and tell me what happens.
All right, so every summer before we do our summer camp, my husband and I like to go on a trip. We were in Miami. I had my service dog. Well, he's in training, and my husband got him for me for Mother's Day.
What kind of dog is it?
He was a Welsh Springer Spaniel, so he's pretty rare. Like, they only breed like less than 300 a year.
When you say he's in training as a service dog, how's that?
So when you train a service dog, because I use a walker and a cane sometimes because I have degenerative disc disease, so 2 of the vertebrates or the discs in my back are completely crushed. So it's a lot of pain sometimes. So honestly, he would help me pull me out of bed. Like, we were training him stuff, helping me with my walker, with my cane, anything like that. So I was training him. We only had him for about a month. But
How big is a Welsh Spaniel?
He was about 25, 30 pounds when we got him.
What's the name of the dog?
His name was Nipsey.
All right, tell me about the night that this happens. Go ahead.
So the night it happened, we had him staying at the Airbnb. We'd put him in a crate, no problem. But the night before we went out, and the people next to us were like, he was barking a lot at night, and we couldn't really get too much sleep. So we were like, okay, well, we're not going to be jerks. We're going to try and find, a boarding place or something like that, because it is Airbnb, so we have to be considerate of the other people that are renting and that obviously live there too. But anyway, so we went to dinner that night before we had dropped Nipsey off at her house around like 3 or
How'd you
4.
find her?
He actually found her on
How'd you
Google.
find her?
Yeah, so after having the talk with the neighbor, I was like figuring out a place to put the dog so we can go out again the next night, keep our vacation moving.
Right.
So I got on Google, looked up like boarding facilities, and she popped up on there.
Okay, but she's not a boarding facility. She's like a pet sitter, right?
Pet sitter, yeah.
And how much were you going to pay her to watch the dog?
So I have text messages that says she charges $100 a night.
Okay. So you take the puppy over there at what time?
Between 3 and 4 p.m.
And when you go there, do you go into the house?
No, so it's like all the places in Miami, especially the apartments, they're pretty much gated. So we called her, she came down, she opened the gate, we were talking to her, and then we gave her Nipsey. And I think she had like another dog already with her on a leash and stuff. So, I mean, she didn't come off like it wasn't what she was supposed to be doing, like it wasn't her job, like she was suited and booted for it. She had another animal, so I was like, she had good reviews on Google, so we thought she was legit.
All right, so you leave Nipsey with her, and then what happens?
And then we were finishing dinner around probably like 8:30, something like that, and as soon as we got back to the place, he gets a phone call from her, and she's like, I'm sorry, I can't find your dog.
All right, tell me about it. You're the one who got the phone
Yeah,
call.
she calls me. Yeah, I have a problem. I can't find your dog. So, what do you mean you can't find our dog? You're supposed to be watching the dog. No, we can't find a dog. Okay, we'll be there in a second. So we take our bikes, ride them up to her place real quick. It sounds like 9 o'clock or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I can't find your dog. So I start running around the building to look.
Yeah,
calling
we
the
pulled up
dog's
saying
name.
Nipsey.
Right.
She didn't even want to let us in at first, right? She was kind of like,
Yeah.
didn't want to let us in. We had to call her. She took a while to come down. Finally, she opened the gate, and we walk in, and we're like, where's the dog? She's like, I don't know. I went to dinner. When I came back, he was gone. I'm like, okay, well, why did you leave him when you went to dinner? You're supposed to be watching my dog. He's a puppy in the first place. We paid you to watch him. So why would you leave him when you went to dinner? And show me where he got out of. Okay, so my husband starts going to look because I'm like asking her, okay, if he jumped, where did he jump from? And she's like, he jumped out of my window. I'm like, okay, but where? Like, show me where he jumped from. She said the second floor. I said, what do you mean the second floor? What do you mean? Like, show me where he jumped from right now. And as I'm saying that, he's literally down about 100 feet, maybe 100 feet. And he's like, babe, he's over here and he's dead.
Covered with a blanket.
Covered with a sheet.
Already.
Bloodied. So I go running down there, and from the size, I could tell it was Nipsey. And I pulled the sheet, and he was splattered on the ground. Eyes splattered out, blood, brains on the ground, done, okay? So she starts running, so we're sitting there crying, and I'm like, no, we can't let her leave. So we go and walk, and she's like going around to the other side of the complex, and I'm yelling and screaming at her, you need to call the police. Oh, I already tried. What do you mean you tried? Call the police again. So I called the police, and I finally get a hold of them. And then about 20 or 30 minutes later, the police finally show up. And there's like 3 cops, and I'm trying to tell them what happened, and I couldn't. I was just still in tears.
They're talking to me.
And so they're talking to
So
him.
basically, you can read the police report. She was not trying to let these cops in the apartment. She wasn't trying to even like tell them her name.
Which apartment
Still
number
ain't
she was
even-
in,
but-
nothing.
So the police finally get in, do their thing, whatever they do in there. And they come back out to me and they tell me, it's unfortunate, but the window was left, the window's open. There's a screen that's bent out. There's an ottoman right by the window.
Ms. Cat, what happened that night?
The whole story is they jump off the dog in morning around 11:30 a.m. to my place, and I go down to take the dog, and they tell me nothing about the dog, and they tell me nothing about.
What did you want them to tell you? What do you mean?
They never say I can't leave the dog alone. The
Well, I
dog
mean-
have anxiety, and it's not a crime to leave a dog alone because I'm a...
No. We're not talking about whether it's a crime, because you're not charged with a crime. This isn't criminal court. Do you do this for a living? Do you watch dogs?
Yes, I
You get
walk
paid to
dogs.
do that, right?
But they didn't pay anything.
That's not my question, because
Okay.
the dog was dead, so they didn't have a chance to pay you, or they weren't going to pay you once the dog was dead. Okay, so, but my question is, were they supposed to pay you? If everything had gone
That's
fine,
what we agree on, yes.
Yes. Okay. Do you have the police report?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Can I have it?
Absolutely.
Is this it right here?
Why did you leave the dog alone?
So that day I have 2 other dogs. They need to deliver back home around 7:30.
Why didn't you just take their dog with you on a walk instead of leaving the dog that you don't know in a strange place alone with a window open?
The window is shut and the screen is intact.
How did the dog open a window?
And then my neighbor...
How did the dog open a window?
I don't know, I'm not in the house.
Right, which is kind of the point, right? 'Cause you're being paid to watch a dog, and you leave the dog alone, and you're saying, "Oh no, the window was closed. The dog must have opened the window." I'd like to understand how you think the dog opened the window.
It's a slide window.
Yes, I know it's a slide. I don't think the dog knows it's a slide. That's my point. It's a dog and it's a puppy. So I think you left the window open. I know from the police report that, in fact, the screen was damaged. That I think a dog could do when a dog is saying, "Where the hell am I? And how are there no humans?" And there's an ottoman in front of the window, and then the dog gets up and the dog sees that there's humanity down there, and then the dog might, hit the screen. That I do believe. But I kind of think you probably left the window open when you left the dog unattended that you were being paid to attend.
Objection.
What happened with the dog after that night?
That night, I call them, and then I bring them, I open the gate, and then I bring them and lead them and point them the dog. And then when she see the dog, she's very emotional and charge at me and attack me. And then
What do you mean by trying to attack you?
Okay, she charged at me like 20 miles per hour, and then I don't know what she attempted to do, and then I run away. I don't want personal conflict. I don't want she get hurt or I get hurt.
Okay, so after the police leave and after they leave, the dog remains there on the
3
premises.
days.
3 days.
And then the apartment people trying to throw the dog in trash, and then I feel very bad for the dog, and then I say, "No, please don't move the dog to trash." He already very sad, and then
The dog is sad? The dog is dead.
No, he's dead. I feel sad and bad for the dog. I don't want him to end up in the trash can.
Right, so what do you do?
So I pay the animal removers to bring the dog to the hospital to cremate it.
Okay, and then what do you do with the ashes?
And then I send them back the dog ashes to her
them.
house.
To their house.
Yes.
Did you end up with the dog ashes?
So, yes, Your Honor. She said she sent me the ashes.
Right, and you're saying you paid for the ashes?
Yes, ma'am. This is
Okay.
the $250 charge for
Okay.
veterinary services, which is the cremation.
Okay.
And then on the 10th...
Let's talk about what happens afterwards. You end up, you've got a jihad going that where you want to make sure that this doesn't happen to any other person. So
Absolutely.
you are going to every website in town and you're posting things on what? On her site? On
No.
How does it work?
So I was on my own Facebook. I went to Miami Beach Animal Advocates, posted a post in there. I posted on Google. I posted on Yelp. I posted on all those places. And people were commenting. I never once commented at her. Nothing like that.
What do you mean commented at her? What do you mean by that?
Like I never posted her name and like tagged her or anything.
I don't know what you're talking about. You mention her specifically and say, "Don't use her. She killed my dog."
Yeah, I used her business name though. Yeah.
And people were saying things like, "Oh, I see her drumming up business at all the dog parks in Miami Beach. I'm so glad you told me that." This goes on. How does she? I guess you start to realize that someone is saying all these things about you on the internet. How do you end up realizing that?
So a couple of my friends text me and say, "Hey, you're being attacked online." And then I just open my Yelp and and she just tagged me on Instagram and Facebook.
And what was she saying?
She said I'm a killer, and she put a red letter on my name say I'm a killer.
On your advertisement, she wrote the word killer.
And then post on social media.
Você que está ouvindo o seu podcast, sabia que tudo que o Google faz tem a intenção de trazer impacto positivo? Como? O Jefferson da Tributei usou inteligência artificial para facilitar o dia a dia das empresas. Ele e milhares de empreendedores geraram mais de 188 bilhões com as plataformas do Google. E a Miriane se formou em UX com certificados profissionais do Google, criando o seu próprio negócio. Ela e 88% dos formados relataram avanços profissionais como promoção ou novo emprego. Tem que ser bom para todo mundo. Google.
Did you end up going to court to get her to stop?
Yes.
What did you applied for what, a restraining order?
Injunction to ask her stop defaming me online.
Okay.
And also she blackmailed me $5,000 on my text message.
What do you mean by blackmailed you?
I say stop all your defamation. I didn't kill your dog, and stop asking me for more money. And then she.
Okay, but when you say more money, can I ask you a question? Did you ever pay for the value of the dog? No, right?
No, but I spend money on the dog.
How much money did you spend on the dog?
Including funeral, cleaning, and deliver.
You had a funeral for the dog?
Yes.
What does that mean?
So the dog passed away. I hire people to give him a funeral to.
I don't understand. Like, what do you mean by you hired people to give him a funeral? Like, in my head, a funeral is a ceremony.
It's a ceremony.
So you had a ceremony for the dog?
Yes.
Did you invite them?
Jesus Christ. I didn't invite them, but I do
How much money
ask
did
the
you
funeral people to mail them the ashes afterward, and I have a rainbow card for the prayers and all their servers.
All right, but did you ever pay them for the dog?
I say, do you want to adopt a new dog?
Well, they don't want you to pick out a dog for them. I mean, I don't know what that means. They want you to pay the value of the dog that died in your care because it wasn't in your care. You have a lawsuit against them for defamation. So let's talk about what happens. You file an injunction to get them to stop talking bad about you on the internet. And what happens to the injunction in court?
The judge said if she keep doing it, she might end up being in jail. And she
really? Because
I
read the file. I thought that got denied. Didn't that get denied?
Yes, it did get
that
denied.
Means you lost the injunction. That doesn't mean you won. That means you lost.
4 times.
Four times?
It was denied each time, and then the last one was granted per hearing, and that was the one we had over Zoom, and that one got dismissed as well.
Right, so it was always denied.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, okay. So after all of the motions for rehearing, you file for an actual protective order saying she threatened to kill you?
Yes.
Okay. How did she threaten to kill you? When did that happen?
Then after I showed them where the dog is, and then Nikki, she charged at me and cursed at me very yell and say, oh, I'm going to make my life hell and need to be careful. And so all kinds of this cursing is a lot of foul language I don't want to say.
She is now suing you for defamation because she says you made up this thing about her threatening to kill you. Do you have any evidence to support what you're saying? Any witnesses? You had neighbors down there and stuff. Any neighbors hear that she said she was going to kill you?
I have an affidavit.
That says that they heard her say she was going to kill you? What are the apartment damages you're suing for? According to you, you have $1,700 in apartment damages. Can you explain that to me, Ms. Cat?
That's how much the landlord took.
Okay, took what? Out of the security deposit?
Yes.
Okay, so your landlord keeps your security deposit and you want them to pay you? Because your landlord kept the security deposit because you were running a business out of the apartment that you don't even have a lease on. So, yeah, that's what happened. You ended up evicted from there, right?
It's not me being evicted.
No, it's worse. Well, it's you or it's the person on the lease plus anybody living there. You're living there, right?
No.
You weren't living there?
I visit there because I dog sitting.
So you're dog sitting in someone else's apartment, but you have another place to live?
Yes.
Why don't you just take care of the dogs where you live?
I go to visit my friend, right?
I don't believe a word coming out of your mouth. I just don't.
I live like about
What's the
5
cleaning
blocks.
fee of $500?
I pay the cleaning company to clean because the apartment.
To clean what?
To clean the scene.
Outside.
Yes, because...
Can I see the receipt for $500 to clean where the dog is? While she's looking for that, I think I understand your defamation case. The emotional distress, loss of a service dog, pain and suffering. Tell me about that.
I mean, it's been a lot. Like, I literally cried every day for, probably 3 weeks because of all the just trauma from witnessing my puppy on the ground.
How much did you folks pay for the puppy?
We paid $2,500 for him, and
Do you have a receipt for the puppy?
I have this from my breeder.
All right, folks. Let's talk about your lawsuit first. You have a lawsuit against her for replacement value of the puppy, saying it's $5,000 to replace, and you're including things like training the puppy and other things like that. Your measure of damages in court, first of all, let me just say, I am so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
It's really hard, and you're on a vacation, and you didn't do anything wrong. You know, you went on the internet, she had good reviews, and so you left your dog with her. What could go wrong? This could go wrong. Mm-hmm. This could go wrong, right? And so it's very unusual. This isn't usually what happens, but this is what happened to you, and I'm very sorry that it happened to you. The measure of damages when you come to court is the value of the property at the time of the bad. So you have to prove two things. One, the defendant wronged you. And two, this is the value of the property. And I know we love our dogs like they're our children, but they're not. They're not humans. They're dogs. And dogs, under the eyes of the law, are considered property. It's the value that you paid for the dog, which is $2,500. Not the vaccines after, not the training after, just the value of the dog. And we'll put a pin in it right now, your defamation case. Let's put a pin in it a moment. So now you have a counterclaim against her, $8,000. Let's talk about your counterclaim against her. It's because of all the things that she was posting online, like killer and all this other stuff that she says. That's your defamation case, right?
She say I killed her dog.
Right. Well, did you kill her dog?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. What is your feeling about what the word kill means?
Kill means intentional.
It doesn't. Okay, there are many forms of killing that are not intentional. I could have a car accident, I killed you, but I didn't mean to kill you. But you're dead. Kill means to cause the death. So what did she do wrong by saying that you killed her dog? She immediately said the dog jumped out a window. She didn't say, she put her arms around my dog's neck and strangled it. She didn't say that. She said exactly what happened. You're paid to watch a dog. You leave the dog alone. I don't believe you when you say it's 20 minutes. I don't believe you when you say the window was closed. Not even your apartment. How do you know the window's open or closed? Now it's like, I just use it to dog sit. You know, it's very cagey, Ms. Cat. Very cagey, all of it. I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff in this case for the $2,500, which was the cost of the dog. I am also ruling in favor of the plaintiff for another $1,000 for the defamation, saying she's told me she was going to kill me, which I don't think happened. And I am ruling against you on your lawsuit against them for everything that you're suing them for, which makes no sense to me. Do you even feel bad that this happened?
Yes, I feel bad.
All right. My verdict in this case is for the plaintiffs.
Thank you.
So in this tragic case involving the death of a dog, the plaintiffs prevail. Defendant does not get anything for her countersuit. Kat, let me talk to you for a moment. What's your feeling about the outcome of the case?
I'm glad they get what they want, and it's a tragedy. So I don't do anything wrong.
You know, the judge disagrees. You did do something wrong. You didn't watch the puppy. All right, let's talk to the plaintiffs now. Obviously, a very tragic experience for them. And I'm so sorry for you, just as the judge said. But are you satisfied with the judge's verdict?
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's finished, everybody knows she's a bad person. Don't leave her with your animals, and, you know, I'm happy.
All right. Sorry for your loss, but congratulations for winning your lawsuit, and good luck in the future.
Thanks.
Okay?
Doug, what really just bugs me about the law in a situation like this is dogs are considered property. They are not considered living beings under the law in most states. And that means you almost value the dog like you would a sofa, which makes absolutely no sense. You can't get pain and suffering from what a dog endures. And, you know, I think the law is going to be changing in this area because it should.
Did you make your kids do household chores?
Well, did I? You were there. Yeah, occasionally.
I remember I was the strong taskmaster. And
oh, yeah, right.
But,
yeah, we made them do some things.
Right. It's hard enough to get them to clean their stinking room.
And
pick up after themselves.
At one point, I had a system which I thought worked really well, where rather than I decided to fill a jar.
Deducting from their.
Do you remember?
From their allowances.
We filled a jar with quarters,
right.
And they were like maybe I don't know 6, right. 8 or something. We filled a jar with quarters, and if they left their underwear on the floor, I'd take a quarter out because I wanted them to feel it like they were losing. Right. Well, that was really effective. We did that for like 6, 7 months. I don't know why.
It worked for a while.
It did. It worked for a while.
Because they were getting the message. What about you when you were a kid? Did you have to do a lot of household chores?
I did some. I mean, it's not like I was Cinderella or anything.
Right. Scrubbing the floors.
You know, we always had the idea that our kids' job was to study hard and get good grades. And
right.
But we
wouldn't. You mean at your house growing up or in our house?
No, I mean our house.
Yeah, I
my
totally
parents'
agree.
idea, that generation was like, don't bother me.
We were on them to do well academically.
Right, we were.
More than anything
and very hard. And they were in sports and they were in 1,000 things. So it's not as though I had them scrubbing toilets. No, I did not, because I didn't need to have them scrubbing toilets.
Right.
I needed to have them excel. What I wanted for my kids was,
that was priority one.
Right, priority one was to make sure they got the grades.
When I was a kid, I had to mow the lawn.
Yeah.
Take out the garbage. My dad would bring me the shovel and go, "You got poo patrol," and he'd hand it to me because I had to clean up after our German Shepherd.
Well, poo patrol's on your list.
Yeah, I know. I still
at our house.
specialize
No, you're actually very, very good at it. I have to say.
This is the plaintiff, Cheryl Stevenson. She says the defendant is her ex-fiancée and they lived together before splitting up. Now the nasty woman won't return her rent. She has no right keeping her hard-earned money. There's no way she's going to allow her to just take her money. And she's suing for the $1,300 she's owed today. This is the defendant, Charmaine Ferguson. She says the plaintiff ended their relationship because she felt like she was being controlled, which wasn't true. The plaintiff decided to move out early. She left all her garbage in the place when she moved out, and the woman's owed nothing. She's accused of letting a lover down.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff and the defendant were engaged to be married, but the whole thing blew up because of controlling issues. Now the plaintiff says the defendant owes her money for rent and other stuff and won't pay. It's the case of take control.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, Anna.
Okay, Ms. Stevenson, you're suing Ms. Ferguson for $1,100 of a refund for rent and also $200 for a security deposit that you paid. Tell me what happened.
We met in March of 2020, and at the time I lived in Deerfield Beach, and she lived in Miami, and we would go back and forth.
Okay, what was the relationship between you two?
Engaged me.
Oh, okay, so you guys were fiancés?
Yes.
Okay, all right, and then?
And then in September of 2020, she came and helped me move out of my apartment in Deerfield Beach to Miami.
Okay.
And I lived with her. And during that time, I would pay $300, and I also pay for the rent, and I'd also pay whatever the water bill was half, whatever the light bill was half.
Okay. In October of 2021,
yes,
you get some kind of rent subsidy, and so no one's paying rent, including you, right?
Exactly.
All right. That goes on till March of 2022, and what happens in March of 2022?
The landlord sold the property.
Okay.
And it was a new landlord, and they were asking for 22. Before she was paying only $1,000.
Oh, wow. So what happens?
So we decided to stay because tried to look other places and it wasn't happening.
So do you two break up?
No, we were still living together.
On April 1st, you get a notice that she wants you out by April 30th. This is in 2022.
So this is what happened.
So most people wouldn't consider themselves still together when they get that kind of notice. So do you guys break? Right.
That's when we broke up.
Exactly. So how did you break up? By her giving you notice?
Out of the blue, the Thursday, the 31st of March, I cash after the 1,100, and the next morning she woke up and left, and then came back and then presented me with the notarized letter.
Okay, everybody stop a second. Let me just ask you a question. Did you two sleep in the same bed that night?
Oh, yes.
Okay, and were you fighting, or when you say out of the blue, you're all lovey-dovey and boom, she files this on you?
We weren't really lovey-dovey because we were arguing because she wanted me to pay the 1,100 before, but she was on this program to pay the rent. And so I didn't want to tie up my money, give her the 1,100 until the 1st of April when it's due. But she didn't want to wait.
No, because she already knew she was going to give you the notice, and she didn't want to cut it that close, I guess. So she gives you notice that she wants you to leave by the 30th, and then you end up leaving sooner, correct? You leave on the 5th.
I left on the 5th. Yes.
Okay, and you want your rent for April back.
Yes.
And you paid a $200 security deposit when?
The deposit.
When did you pay a $200 security deposit?
When the new people bought the place, they wanted a
demanded. Okay. Ms. Ferguson, let me hear from you.
Okay, Your Honor, we went on a cruise on the 25th of March, which was to celebrate our anniversary. Prior to us going to the cruise, I advised Ms. Stephenson that that the rent was going up, and I reapplied for the assistant again. But the assistant never came through during the time we went up to the cruise. So that Monday we came back from the cruise, I said to Cheryl that they didn't approve us yet for the second payment to help with the assistant of the rent. She blows up. What you mean? I didn't have no plans to pay no rent. I said, what you mean you didn't have no plans to pay the rent? I advised you before we went on the cruise that we might have had to pay the rent because the people didn't approve me yet for the assistant. Your Honor, I didn't even have to tell Cheryl about the assistant because the assistant was in my name. She wasn't even on it, only me and my daughter.
Right, but weren't you romantically involved?
I told her about it because
I'm sorry, stop. You told her about it because you were romantically involved with her and she knows what's happening in your life.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So before that, was she ever paying half of the rent?
She never paid half of the rent, Your Honor. She paid a third of the rent because she advised me that at the time my daughter was living with here before my daughter was 16. A minor at the time, and she wanted the rent to be split into 3 ways. And that's when I advised her that my daughter's not paying any rent because my daughter is a minor.
Yeah, she wants you to pay your minor's rent. All right, so here's my question to you. On the month before April, in March, how much rent did she pay?
1/3.
Okay.
1/3.
So if it was 1/3, then she was paying $333.33.
No, she was paying three something.
Okay. All right. So then here's my question to you. When did the subsidy end?
It ends in March.
Of 2022?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So then when you guys got notice that the new landlord wanted to increase the rent by double, how much was the new landlord charging?
$2,200.
So even more. Did you tell her right away? Can you believe it? This landlord wants to charge $2,200. I assume you told her, right?
Yes, I told her. I told her everything, and the landlord.
So why is she cash apping you $1,100 if she only pays a third?
So that time when the new rent had kicked in, that's when I advised her that the rent was the kick in and we had to go off at that point. Prior to that, she wasn't paying half. Okay. She was paying half now when the new rent kicked in April of 2022.
So here's my question to you. When do you tell her, hey, from now on it's half and half? When do you tell her that?
Prior to when the new lease, when I signed the new lease.
When did you sign the new lease? I don't know when that is.
Okay, that was March 8th of 2022.
All right, so you tell her she needs to pay half. She agrees that you told her that, but was still hoping that the program comes in. Then you get back from the cruise, And what happens? The program hadn't
After
come
that,
in.
when I got back from the cruise that morning, I advised her that the people never answered me back because they were still waiting on some documentation from the new landlord to pay the assistance again. March 8th was when she paid the half of us signing the new lease. That's where she gave me the $200 because it was $399.
Did she break up with you or did you break up with her?
We both were texting back and forth because she advised me that the relationship was not working. And I told her I feel the same way, so let's separate.
On March 31st, she gives you the rent, and even though you guys are discussing that you should break up, what happens between March 25th when you bring that up and March 31st?
We wasn't speaking, but we were still sleeping in the same room. I was just leaving, going to work, and doing my normal routine.
You weren't talking to each other, but you're sleeping in the same bed?
No, we wasn't speaking. When I advised her, Your Honor, that the relationship was not working, it's time for us to move on, she said to me that, can she move into the next room and pay 1/3 of the rent? And I told her that wasn't a good idea because I just wanted to start a new life. And that's that morning before I went out on the 31st, I said to her, are you going to move
You
out? What are
collected the
gonna
rent
do?
from her on the 31st for April, and then you gave her a notice the next day that she needed to leave on April 30th.
She cashed up me the money at 2:22, Your Honor.
Yeah, and when did you give her the notice?
I gave her the notice the next day.
Right, I know.
Because I left out that morning after saying to Ms. Stephenson, are you going to leave? She advised me that I would have to call the police to put her out. She wasn't leaving.
Okay. What I don't understand is the new lease that's signed with the new landlord, who signs that lease? Why is no one answering me now?
I didn't sign the lease.
You didn't.
She
So it's
signed the
just
lease.
Miss Ferguson who signs the lease.
It was just her.
Right.
Yeah, it was,
then you
yes.
are, in fact, Miss Ferguson's subtenant, and she
Yes.
can give you notice. So she gives you notice, and you don't like it. It's uncomfortable. Everybody stop talking, especially you, Miss Ferguson. So she gives you notice. By the way, Miss Ferguson, I do have one question for you. Do you agree that she gave you $200 for the security?
Yes, I do.
Why haven't you given that back? She already moved out.
Sharon left my place in a disaster when she moved out. This is the first photo.
And what is it I'm supposed to see there?
Okay, this is the trash that I had to take up from the area of where Miss Stephenson was living.
Did she leave those trash bags there, or were you collecting them and then you took a picture?
I was collecting the trash which she left.
Okay,
into the
do
bag
you
that I
have an
put it
actual
into.
picture of how she left it? So she left like clothes messy. Ms. Stevenson, you made the decision to leave on April 5th because it was uncomfortable, right?
On the 5th, she came to me and said, you're going to be able to leave on the 30th, right? And I said, don't worry about it, I will. She slammed the door and went outside and was yelling for I guess for the neighbors to hear that she's kicking me out. You better leave my effing house, this and that and that and that and that.
Well, had you said to her, you're going to need the cops to drag me out?
Huh?
Did you ever say to her?
That. Okay. I said, what if I don't get apartment by the 30th? You better get out of my effing house, this, that, and she was just carrying on.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Sometimes when two people fall in love but move in together, the nature of the relationship changes, and that's exactly what happened here. Let's go back into the courtroom.
Essentially, you are a landlord and you are a tenant, Ms. Stevenson. So, Ms. Ferguson, you did the right thing when you gave her 30 days notice because, you have to give her notice. So she gives you 30 days notice and you are allowed to stay, uncomfortable as it may be, until the 30th. You make a decision that you're going to leave on the 5th, but you can stay until the 30th, just like the notice says. That's on you that you decided to leave. I would leave too, so I'm not criticizing you for that decision, but you don't get to then get back your rent because she didn't say get out now. She said you got until the 30th. So you wouldn't get your rent back in a situation like that. Now let's talk about the security deposit. She showed me some pictures that show the way you left it. Why did you leave it that way? Why wasn't it neater?
I didn't leave the place messy.
Okay, so she's just taking pictures of a few of her clothes on the floor and of garbage she swept up and pinning it on you.
She did that.
Okay.
I did not do that. I just took my stuff and I left.
It's always a good idea whenever you leave a tenancy to take pictures of how you leave it.
Yeah, that's true. That's my bad.
I'm gonna, Ms. Ferguson, you are allowed to keep the $1,100 for rent. I didn't see $200 worth of damage that would allow you to charge and keep the security deposit. I'm ordering you to return the security deposit to the plaintiff. So the net judgment then is in favor of the plaintiff, not in the amount that she's suing for, but in the amount of $200. That's the right decision. That's the one I'm making.
Thank you.
So the plaintiff prevails. She only gets $200 back. So, Ms. Stevenson, let me ask you, do you think you made too quick a decision to get together with her in a relationship?
Listen, she wanted me to marry her, and I was telling her that, first of all, it's too early for that. I am not interested in getting married because I wanted to know her more, get to know her more.
Yeah. That's a good point. All right.
Yes.
Let me talk to Ms. Ferguson. Ms. Ferguson, how do you feel about the outcome of this case? You got to give her $200. That is the plaintiff.
That's fine. I just want it over and behind me. And I will never, ever make that decision again to bring somebody in my place. Because all I did was try to help Ms. Stephenson, and all she was ungrateful. But at this point, I've moved on with my life, and I'm glad it's over and it's behind me.
I understand. All right, that'll bring this amazing case to a close. Let's see what Harvey has to say about it. Harvey, what are your thoughts?
Doug, here's the thing. The plaintiff didn't get the money for the rent because bottom line is she could have stayed in the apartment. There was nothing forcing her to leave. That was her choice. It may be uncomfortable to stay or some kind of a strain, but a contract is a contract. End of story. We'll see you next time.